Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Good to see you here, folks. See everybody kind of filing in. Feel free to say hello. I'd love to hear from you and where you're from and all that good stuff. Sam Peterson in the house. Vivi, Cecilia. Yeah, let's do it. Final countdown. This is technically day 9. Sports. All right. Super Bowl this weekend, so I'm wearing my sports shirt. All right, we're going to have fun today. It really is taking things to the next level in terms of what Photoshop can do. I'm still going to cover the fundamentals because I know there might be people that are new, and we're just happy to have everybody here. So you're going to learn stuff. It's going to be awesome. We've got a full day today. Awesome master classes, FYI. So after this, I'm going to do a master class where I dive into pro tips and tricks, okay? So there's something for everyone today. Dave, good to have you here. Hugh as well from San Francisco. Awesome. I will be there next week. All right. Let's dive into this because I think everybody's doing a fantastic job, especially as I look at Discord, just so you know. So you can kind of check that out through the links below. If you're joining me on YouTube, by the way, go over to behance.net/Adobe Live. Okay. And we will kind of show you what we'll be doing. So this is going to be good. Just give me 1 second. Essentially, again, taking everything that you've learned and making also social media posts, because I think we should talk about like the output of all this content that we've been making. So hopefully that works for you. Here we are, Daily Creative Challenge. And again, this is everything that we're working on. Down here, animation, right? Also that for publishing to social media. So you can kind of check that out. You check out the getting started file, click right there, and it's going to be this image right here of this butterfly that I already have loaded into good old Photoshop. By the way, you can see everything that we've been doing. And like I mentioned for Discord, loving this latest one, by the way, right over here. P40, amazing job. Very cool. I think a lot of people have gravitated toward this particular daily creative challenge as I kind of scroll through these, and lots of globes, but it's kind of like this one here, day 3, and then day 7. So cool. Thank you so much. I'll be in there later today when I'm not live streaming. Here's the file we're dealing with. We're going to do some animation, but we're also going to do some compositing as well. So hopefully that works for you, Aria. I think a lot of times people like need help like coming up with like what to make. Which I find myself, I play a lot with size. So here we have this butterfly. A butterfly, of course, isn't going to be that big, but what we want to do is we want to put this butterfly and have it sit right on this fence as if it's absolutely huge. Okay, so that's the goal. Okay. Yeah, so again, basic compositing, then we'll dive into animation. So here's my butterfly right here. See it? I've already extracted it. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to kind of, I feel bad about doing this, but I'm actually going to cut off its wings. Okay. So what I'll do a lot of times is I will do Command J to jump a layer, just duplicates it. Okay. And you could also drag this icon down to that plus sign to duplicate that layer. I am just going to do that as a backup. Who does that, by the way? Chad probably does it. I want to know who like is always making like a backup layer. Like I've been doing that for like forever because I don't trust myself. Okay. So grabbing this butterfly, I'm going to use the lasso tool over here, right? Trusted lasso tool, holding on as I click and drag, and if I hold down the option key, I can then click and turn it into the polygonal lasso tool, right? You can see how that works. So again, click and drag, we'll go around because I kind of actually want this straight. I'm not going to worry about too much of this detail, to be honest with you. In fact, I want this to be kind of pretty straight right down here, okay? It's all going to be kind of like hidden, so I'm not going to sweat it too much. We'll kind of go around just like that. For those of you who are wondering, who want to do live streaming, I'm using an app called Zoom It. It allows you to just kind of zoom in on certain areas. But that's also a pro tip that I'm gonna save a lot of that stuff for the next hour. Okay, once that's selected, we'll take this. Yeah, so here we go. Yeah, so Catherine makes a lot of backup layers. Jesse D doesn't trust himself. Himself, yes. That's so funny. That's awesome. So again, we'll just do X, and then we can do a paste in place if you want to, okay? But that's what I'm doing. Just a cut and paste. We're going to move this around anyways. It doesn't really need to be exactly in place, right? So do that with that side. We'll do it with the other side, right? Chopped off one wing. I feel horrible about this. I'm so sorry, butterfly. I love butterflies. I just think they're magical, like little fairy creatures that are actually in this real world of ours. And they're just kind of flying around as if they're not magical. We know you're magical, butterflies. It's wild. Okay, cut it. Command X, Command V. There they are, just like that. All right. Zoom it. Yes, you're exactly right, Dave. Zoom IT. Another one is mouse pose, by the way. Again, I'm getting into pro level stuff that I'm going to cover next hour. So right over here, I can jump in and I can name my layers if I want to. Body, wing. Let's do right, left. It's his right and his left. Okay. Now what I can do is I can start distorting everything right now, but what this is the biggest takeaway that you want to grab from this morning, and that's making these smart objects, which sounds like a simple thing, but we did this earlier when we were talking about distorting type, right? We made it a smart object, and that gave us so much more flexibility. Same thing with these wings. I'm going to be shrinking this whole thing down. Guess what? I need to make this a smart object, right? Converts to smart object, makes it a little file within a file that you can see right here. And that's what I'm doing right now for all these guys. Question for maybe, I don't know, some people that are, I don't even know if Tim's here. I should do a shortcut key for convert to smart object. And I don't know if anybody has done that yet. Or if there is one, but I've always used the menu. I'm guilty of using the menu more than I need to, just so you can see where it's at. Okay, but I encourage you to use. Why separate layers for each wing? I'm going to show you here in a second. Smart object is always a backup by itself. Yeah, Vivi, very well said. You're exactly right. It is a backup by itself. In and of itself, it's a backup. All right, so I'm going to take all these. I could take all of these 3 layers just by shift selecting. And what I want to do, just to get really meta, we're going to get all Inception on you, to reference a movie from like 8 years ago. I want to go ahead and convert these 3 smart objects into one uber smart object. And this uber smart object is called butterfly. So there we go. There we have it. I'm going to double click. We can see my lovely butterfly and these other smart objects in here that are also protected, but I am now 2 levels deep, to be honest with you. All right, so here's my butterfly. I'm actually, I don't even want to do that yet. I don't even know if I want to do that yet. I'm actually going to show you a feature, and the reason I changed my mind is to show you this new feature in Photoshop CC 2020. Sometimes you want to make things smart objects, and sometimes you don't. But right in here, if you do a right click on that layer, you convert it back to layers. Converting it back to layers, here's that butterfly smart object group, and now everything's back to normal, right? Because ultimately what I want to do is I want to do a Command T, right, on this right layer, and I'm going to go ahead and distort this particular wing. So I take this wing, move it up like so. I'm going to make it like that. Okay, so I'm going to make it look like they're folded. Command T again, right, and then right click. If you do Command T or Control T on a PC, you get this menu when you right click. Distort again, right? We'll grab this side and we'll bring that up like so. So there we have it. I actually might convert these all to a smart object. I'm kind of torn on going back and forth, to be honest with you, and I feel really bad about that. But I'm going to convert this back to a smart object because that makes it one unit. Because what do I want to do? I want to take this, I want to tilt it down here, and I want to move it right over here. Okay? So it's going to sit on the fence. Okay? Hey, I want to play with it some more. Double clicking. When I double click on this, guess what? It is back to this upright size. Okay. Yeah, I just don't know, guys. I am just going back and forth on this. It's driving me crazy, right? Let's convert it back to layers. Because I'm noticing this is a problem kind of with smart objects is I can't actually see the background. So I actually might want to just group these, bring them into place like so. Okay, let's do this. I'm just going to go to work, right? Taking this. Flipping it. Let's go like that. All right. This is going to be fun. Okay, so something's happening here that maybe some people are picking up on. I'm just going to position this into place without using an uber smart object for this whole butterfly. But what happens when you convert something into a smart object, you get it never resets back to the original right angle transform box. You can always come back in as I take it out like that and I hit enter and I decide I do want to do Command T again. Well, guess what? It remembers that perspective. So I can always go into a distort and change this some more. So that's what I'm doing. I'm kind of getting this into place. Bear with me. I know this is going to take a second because I really need to animate this. The body is going to be in front there, right? There's its body. Let's kind of move this at an angle as well, right? Taking this whole, all the wings and the body, positioning it into place like so. Okay, there we have it. We're part of the way there. Let's move on, huh? Yeah, thank you, Aria. You're making me feel better because you're like, that's why Photoshop has options. You could always change your mind. And that's so true, especially as you start. You want some things to move and not other things. That's essentially what's happening here because ultimately these wings are going to flap. Okay, so that looks not bad. Notice right in here, if you have the starter file, you have this fence right here. I'm going to put this fence on top. Okay, this fence has one little issue. If you notice, as I move this, oh, no, actually, it's actually pretty good. You could clean this up all you want, right? By going into select and mask. And you can pick up, by the way, there's this part I missed. Guess what? I don't really need it. I can jump in and use refine edge to get rid of some of that blue, right? In case I decide to move him to the other side. Okay, so keep that in mind. You can always use select and mask. That was, I think, from day 2. Well, technically I was like day 1 actually, like day 2 and day 1. All right. So this is looking good so far. Let's bring it down in here. Let's add a new layer. Also, what we learned earlier this week was painting, specifically yesterday actually. We learned we can reset a tool by selecting the brush, going up here, reset tools. We'll go in here. We'll change the hardness all the way up to 100% because I'm going to paint the legs. Okay, since I'm going to paint the legs, I'm going to do this pretty rough, but I want to sample not pure black, but sample the darkest color in here, right? Because it's going to be kind of a brown, right? And we can go ahead and paint out some legs, just kind of something kind of like that. Like he's kind of on this thing, right? We just see some legs kind of sticking out, so it looks, I don't know. It's going to be so small, I'm not worried too much about the detail, obviously. How many legs do insects have? We drew on 6 legs. Spiders have 8, so that's how we can tell them apart. Zoop, there we are, done and done. Here's our little character, looks pretty good. Now let's flap these wings, shall we? Okay, so everything's looking good, cool. You guys happy with it? I could always adjust this up. I kind of want it actually on the fence, so I might move him up a little bit. Kind of clean up the legs. I'm just painting on layer 1. Right, I can always kind of select part of this. Maybe delete it. Some of this could actually be in front of the fence if I wanted to. Maybe I will. Maybe I will actually cut this leg and put it in front. This one's in front of, boop. puppet warp. We can change this any way we want. There we go. Just do that. Zoop, zoop, zoop. You get the idea. Cool. Puppet warp is under the edit menu. Done and done. So that looks kind of cool. Yeah, it's okay. All right. Let's move on, shall we? There it is. Let's go ahead and make the wings flap. I think the legs will be seen because I want it sitting right there. I do need to kind of play with the color, right? So I can actually do Command L will give me levels. Sometimes I use destructive edits because I just want to change this slightly to be a little bit brighter, right? And I don't want to add that complexity. But here we have the legs. And then we have right up here, leg. Cool, we got everything named. Why are we doing this? This gets to be really important when we dive into animation. So legs, we have the right, and then we have the body, then we have the left. All right, so now what are we gonna do? Go to Window, go down to Timeline. Opening up this timeline, we can see right here, Create Video Timeline. Okay, yes, Nancy, great idea. Thank you, Nancy. I could add texture to the legs. I should have added texture to the legs, right? It needs definitely like more character. It needs some highlights. You're exactly right. Okay, so right in here, should say create video timeline, but you could also create a frame-by-frame animation. Okay, so you have two options in here. We're gonna go with video timeline. Clicking OK. And this is why we named our layers, because now I have this panel with all these fun layers that are associated with the layers in the layers panel. Okay, so now I can get down to animating. I'm gonna animate left. Let's take this. I could actually group some of this other stuff together if I wanted to make it simpler. But I'm gonna locate actually this right wing. If I twirl down any layer, I get options for animating it. I wanna transform it, right? Turning on this little stopwatch icon, bam, there we go. We added that keyframe, bam. Since I'm gonna make this a looping animation, I wanna do the same thing down here at the end. I'll scrub clear down here at the end. This is only a 5-second animation. We can change that later if we want to, but I'll add another keyframe by clicking right here on the end. So the start and end are exactly the same. Now I can go to the middle and I can do my Command T like I was doing and then start to distort this. And now from here, I can drag this wing down a little more, right? Hit enter, see how it adds this keyframe, done, right? We could see it move. Simple animation. It's just gonna be a subtle flap, right? And that's it, right? We'll do the same thing because repetition is really how you learn, right? Let's build in some of that muscle memory right over here with transform. Right? How's everybody doing? Is this something that can be done on the iPad Pro version? No. Good one. No. If you're talking Photoshop on the iPad, I could do this whole composite on Photoshop on the iPad for sure. 100%. Yes. But something like this, honestly, I want the larger screen for anyway. But good question. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay, back in here, I accidentally pulled it off. I'm going to make sure these get synced up. I can always move those keyframes. The left side, I added those two keyframes. Command T, right click. Let's distort this. Let's bring this one down a little bit like so. Okay, hit enter. It adds that keyframe. Okay, so now we have it flapping its wings. Okay, what's wrong with this, right? Currently, it looks pretty good, right? It's okay. It's actually not bad. But honestly, to really sell animation, I need a study from life. Like, we get it, right? I feel like there should be, if you're taking my hand, right? And as I tilt it like this, 45-degree angle, you start to get a shadow there. Okay, so when I tilt my hand, that means I basically need to add some shadow on, specifically, let's stop the animation, this right wing. So I'll add a new layer just above it. I will sample this dark color by hitting I for eyedropper, B for brush, closing bracket to increase the size. And guess what? We're going to come in here. I use the flow a lot, but actually I want to just use the opacity. I'm going to take this down to like 14, 15. And I'm going to paint. Maybe it needs to be a little bit more. There we go. I just want a little bit of shading like that. Guess what? Paul, you did a mess. You're just like, that's a mess. That's just a mess. I'm so glad this is happening. I'm so glad you're here. By the way, look, check this out, Susanna. Look, when I add layers, it adds it at that point in time. And this will screw up people. What do you need to do? You need to grab that, bring it over like so. There it is. Now the next thing I need to do is take this shadow and add a clipping mask. Let's zoom out a little bit. Clipping mask is right down here. Clip it just to that wing. And guess what? We can animate that opacity as well. So now it's going to be 100% opaque in the center and then 100% transparent. So taking the opacity down to 0. So now see how it gets darker? Just something that's kind of subtle, a little stronger just so you could see it. But that's what I'm going for. Done and done. From there, we can export out and render this video, okay? I did this at 1080. I think I did it at, 1080 at 1080. Guess what? If you create things larger, and I usually do, you can always resize it here. But 1080 by 1080, you render it, right? And now you have that animation. So we'll jump over here to this final version that's already rendered. Yeah, does the... yes, so thank you. I'm using opacity, and I was using the opacity in the layers panel. But right in here, again, you could just see kind of a rough final. It's not even that good. It's like, okay. I'm sure you could do better. You could definitely do better, but you could see those wings kind of slowly flap, right? I didn't even get the perspective that great on this. Like, okay. But you can kind of see all the fundamentals. Like, we have what we need, okay? I could send this. I'll usually send this to my device by AirDrop is one thing I will do. Also, I can make an Instagram Stories version as well. So I can have this posted to Instagram Stories. Instagram Stories is 1080 by 1920. So I'll save this file, but I can make a different version. Maybe that's a still image. You ready for this, Van Dam? Good to see you, buddy. Check this out. If I just want to export out this image, by the way, and I do this all the time, and when I show it to people, people are like, what? That's crazy. Check it out. If I just want to export out this image for social media, right up here, clicking right here, this is your little share an image. And then you have AirDrop directly within Photoshop. Okay, it's the share icon, upper right, AirDrop, selecting that. There I am, dropping it on my phone, which is happening now. And boom, there it is. And again, I encourage you to have some fun with this, right? Other pro tips, there's so many pro tips that I want to talk about when posting to social media. I want to talk about windowed, and a number of other things just to get things on your device. So let me just connect this really fast. Okay, 0, 4, 2, 4. This always drops the connection, but here's my phone. We could easily see it be sent. You guys get the idea there, right? Easy enough. Boom, boom. We can send it to any device that you have connected. We see it pop up. You get the, why did it crash? Anyway. So sorry about that. Last thing I'm going to show you is taking things to the next level when it comes to reflector. Okay, I don't know why this kind of just crashed, but here's Instagram, for instance, just so you could see it. Here's some other fun things you could do, by the way. I just kind of put this together last night. Based on that, I'm going to show you how to do this in the next hour since I'm down to my last minute. Luckily, I have an hour to cover all this stuff, but this is kind of a fun example since we're talking about social media posts. You know, this is just in my profile, by the way. that I thought I'd make a collage. So I'm going to show you how to do this and more within the next hour. And I'm so glad I get you guys longer. But also, thank you so much for hanging out with me and doing some simple animation. This is hopefully just to inspire you, to just create in good old Photoshop and then share that with others. So thank you so much. Everybody gets a big gold star if you participated in all the days or most of the days. Then, would love to hear from you because that's just awesome. And I've had a true pleasure in reviewing and checking out all this amazing work that everybody's been posting. So keep them coming. Also, you saw my social media out here, so follow me on Instagram. This is usually how I will, wherever it is, keep up with people, right? So this is where I typically post things. Just follow me on Instagram, PTRANI, and let's keep in touch beyond this week. So thanks so much, everybody. Hang out. Actually, I'm going to dive into a ton of tips and tricks. Thank you, Michelle, Leah, Dave. Dave's the best. I appreciate all the positivity. Colleen, Lynn. This is going to be good. We have more time to dive into this within the next hour. It's all these pro tips and tricks, little things that are just going to save you a lot of time. And also want to hear from you because I know there's a lot of smart people in here that might have tips of their own. But it's going to be good, I promise. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on this beautiful Friday, wherever it may find you. So thanks so much. We'll be back in a few minutes with more Photoshop. Thanks, Steve. We'll see you guys in a second.